Okay, let's get started. For those of you who are here for the first time or haven't been in a while, we are now being recorded. I don't think this is being broadcast live, however, everything is being recorded, so there's a microphone there and a microphone here, so if you're going to come up and address the board, we'd ask that you speak into the microphone. If you have to hold it, that'd be great. So we will start with continuations from last meeting. ARB 1616, Rosas Corp., 2 South Broadway, sign. Okay. That was a late one last time, too. All right, we will move on. ARB 16-22, 67 Sycamore Lane, a fence. I believe this is Mr. Benchild.
Yes. Good evening. After your comments last week, we revised our fence plan. Hopefully you like it better. I know we did. Just to summarize, we have a cement retaining wall down the middle of our front yard. We're attached to the house. It's about 5.5 feet tall. At the other end, the other end's only about 3 feet tall, but it's still a steep embankment, so it's at least like a 6-foot drop if someone were to fall off the wall. The previous owners decided to block people from falling off the wall with shrubs. They're overgrown, make our front yard look very reclusive. You can't see our front door from the street and what have you. So we want to remove the overgrown bushes. We're going to put in smaller flowers, much nicer. But to protect people from falling off, we're proposing to put up a fence. Our revised fence is now going to be cedar posts with 2 cedar rails and a nice little topper to go on top of it.
Good.
Okay. The topper does not come in cedar, it comes in pressure-treated pine, so we'll apply staining that cedar to match the posts and the rails.
All right. It was you that had some
Yeah, I
comments
think
last
it's
time.
an improvement
Thank you.
over the white picket fence that we
Thank you.
suggested last time, and both the material and in color, I think it's more natural and in keeping with what is up there in the neighborhood. And I appreciate you coming back and taking
I
a
appreciate
look
your
at
comments
it
too. Yeah.
Anybody else?
I just want to be sure, so the fence is going in front of the stone, the concrete wall?
On top of it.
No, it's gonna
It's
be
gonna be
the
the
dirt right. The concrete wall is actually like 6 inches thick, so it'll go in the dirt
Okay,
right behind
okay.
it. The boards will be screwed onto the side that faces the street. I guess the bigger side's supposed to be facing towards the street, so.
Andrew?
No comment.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the application?
I move.
So moved. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I see,
You would either hear from the building department in a couple of days, or you can call him tomorrow and find out how to get your permit and everything else.
great.
All right?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the list is the last continuation from last meeting, ARB 16-25, 94 Main Street, awning. Anybody here for that? Okay. We'll let it again later. Okay, on to new matters. ARB 16-27, 21 Deering Close, revision. I know we've seen this project before, and I guess you made some changes
Yes,
to
it was approved initially at the last, I think that was the last meeting?
No, 2 meetings ago.
2 meetings ago. We came and we were excited about contemporary fireproof home, but unfortunately the deal fell through. And we have another deal on our plate right now. I don't know if you have a copy of it, but I have it here. I should have put it up on the board. But we can do it this way. This is basically the home as we propose it now, and it's really been approved by the new buyer of the house. We are ready to go with it. I actually made a list of the finished materials for the exterior. I'll speak as loud as I can so the microphone picks it up. The material, we're going more with the traditional hip roof, modern colonial, with cedar shakes finished. We're doing mahogany doors, mahogany front door, white Anderson windows, white AZAC trim, the timber line asphalt shingles. I have the list of the colors of the material here for it. And that's about basically the same exact footprint as the other house. So we are still in compliance with our site plan. This is originally a house that we were intended to go with it. It's like a safe bet to market it. And then we had the other people were very, very excited about it, to do something different. And we were thinking, the rest of the project would be that way. But the market sometimes hits you on the head. And this is what we are. I have the list, I don't know how many copies you need of those. The only thing is, I have no copies for you.
Okay, so the finish, all the finishes on the outside of the house are essentially totally different from the original.
Correct, yes, completely different than the other house. Looks-wise, material-wise, the other one was stucco on stone and it's something blank of material. This house is completely different. I mean, like I said, we were very excited about the other house to do something different and unique. And
Do me a favor for the record, just state your name. and-
William Besharat, that's Besharat. That's the hardest part.
And you're with Rackwell Construction?
Yes, with Rocky, yes.
On the left side elevation, it shows that there's like an overhang on the back.
Yes.
And where's that overhang on the rear elevation?
It's hidden behind this.
No.
No.
Maybe it doesn't exist, which would be better.
Let me see that. I think that it does exist for a long time. My memory serves me right. It's this piece in the back.
Probably.
It's this one, but this one is like the overhang is over here in the back there, behind it too.
I mean, the two side elevations are not drawn accurately. Neither one of them are, because it doesn't show the octagon shape on the right side elevation.
Yeah,
It doesn't show it on the left side elevation.
I just noticed that. I can mark it up on the plans now. It's really very simple to mark up. The old house, but we took the old house and we kind of brought back the floor plans originally. We changed the roof lines on it. The old house didn't have the square, and then we introduced the 45-degree angle walls to it.
The elevations are based on, they're on a site though, so it should be north, south, east, west elevation too, right? Not left, right.
Well, we base it on like, this is what the front of the house, and then as you look at the plan, it's easier because you have the site plan in front of you to accommodate, the northwest, east, or south.
Also, the way the front porch is drawn, the columns are drawn differently with the eave-line overhang is different on the right side as it is on the left side. Yeah, that, if you look at the right side elevation, you can see the way the column is set back off the fascia. No, on the right side elevation here, you can see the column is there, it's drawn differently on both of those. The proportions of it look different.
And
The scale is different than the elevation is drawn, yeah.
That's why it looks like that way.
That looks- oh, something's off. And there's no windows on the left side of the building except one?
No, except for that, yeah.
And there's none on the right side?
That's what the house is on there, for privacy purposes.
What was the response I didn't hear? It's what?
For privacy purposes, the house that are next to each other.
Trying to figure out that roof on the right side elevation, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, and the whole, whatever, the whole thing's missing. It's not drawn on
This
either
one here.
elevation. No, because the roof line steps out, and it's just missing on both of them. It's not shown at all. It sticks out beyond the face of the rear elevation, which ultimately
Well,
has
this
that
one
step
over
in it.
here is back there. And, yeah, this should have been over here in the light of vinyl showing. But, we can add those. It's really a minor thing, and we'll be more than happy to drop them in the morning. I mean, I'll mark up the plans now and give them to you, and then we'll mark them up.
It really needs to be consistent all the way around. There's lots of things like that. And then there's a big note at the bottom that says this house will be constructed
That's one of the things that I had a problem
with the supervision help of the designer. Changes might take place on site.
Which is that on the interior, this is just for the interior, such as.
It needs to say that then.
We'll
needs-
take
because-
that note completely out. Right, that was just for the contract purposes.
All right, there seems to be too many changes to approve at
I
this
mean,
point.
they're really, it's just a minor change, it's over here,
Well,
basically the house.
I agree with Ken, or Andrew, you know, there's that octagon shaped structure on the rear elevation, and I don't see it on any of the side elevations.
Which I can mark it up now, and like I said, we'll get something to revise drawings tomorrow in the morning.
It's an architectural review board, so our obligation is to go through the drawings and whatever we record, just
So
put
I
in
understand that.
May I finish? May I finish, please?
Please, yes.
So when we all approve it, and it goes to the DOB, right, back to the Department of Buildings, they're the ones who are gonna be checking it, not us. So they have to trust us that it's accurate and that it's shown correctly. So you sketching out here, if it was something like, oh, this is X or Y, the drawings are inaccurate that we're approving.
The main problem is I have to, those drawings I have back here that I have to sign, and I'm not going to hand, change like you're doing, all the drawings. Just would take.
We will submit the revised drawings in the morning, the first thing in the morning, we'll have them in Ed's office.
But I have to sign them tonight.
It's our time is really the time the assets on this, and we don't want to end up losing the deal on this house in this market.
You should have done a better job of your drawings before you submitted them.
The other thing is if you would provide actual cuts on the windows, just saying Anderson makes many different types of windows. And whether it's a class, Anderson makes 20, 30 different cut types. And right now, all we're seeing is a single line on the windows. We don't know whether it's a real Mountain, plastic Mountain. And that's
So
honestly,
you want an actual,
that's just the cut that
What,
you.
400 series, 200 series, A series, there's all.
400 series, 400 series. For the windows, 400.
If you
It's
said
a fine
400 series
series,
to us, that's fine. We understand what you're talking about. They don't. Our colleagues don't know what that means. A couple other things. On the foundation wall, is it stucco? Because it's not indicated.
yes, it's the.
Yep.
I think cantilever, is that why it's bigger?
That's what that is. That's here.
Are there any
I would have,
patios, anything else, any stone patios, any
Yeah, it's part of the site plan.
depicted on these drawings?
No, we usually don't depict the stone patio on the plans. That's why, I don't know if you have a copy of the site plan.
I did not receive that.
I don't have one to review.
They're not a site plan to review.
We don't have
It
one.
was submitted.
Yeah, I know.
And while I appreciate the schedule, you don't have actual samples, for example, what safari beige wood shapes would you by any chance?
I have a sample of the roofing too.
Which one are you going?
This is the actual.
I don't think you're gonna like the vote we're gonna take tonight, so.
No. We'll double check them and we'll make sure that these.
I don't understand how you don't have, this is, the site plan's not accurate to the house, it's in front of us, the fireplace is in the family room, not in the living room. It's here, it's up front, and not in the back. I don't know how you don't have windows on the side of the house, I don't wanna do anybody's job, but I don't know how you don't want windows on two sides in a room rather than just have them on one side. It just makes it seems odd that there wouldn't be additional windows.
We'll go back and we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, we'll just part of our job is to try to create a home that's more contextual, and I think homes that were built over periods of time had windows on four sides, not just two. It just feels odd that there aren't windows on the sides of the house. Blank walls are not appealing to look at. And so the site plan doesn't align with the house, the elevations of the house. It's got different positions on it. And the elevations need to be tracked through.
We'll see it.
Yeah.
Could you put that on the drawing as well?
I will do that, yes. I'll make sure that it's part of the drawing themselves, and then we'll comply.
And label the elevations north, south, east, or west.
Okay.
And then also the cut for the garage doors have to go like this.
I mean, I can get you a picture of that, you know.
Yeah,
You know,
So we can show you.
all right,
And the fireplace that is added in this drawing, 'cause I know in the last house we didn't have a fireplace, it only opens up into the family room, is that right? It's only on the
Yes.
first floor, not the second floor?
yeah.
And the master, right?
No, I don't think it's,
It's got two flues on it.
yeah, that's what I was
That's
wondering.
our, well,
It's,
Okay. We'll see you next week.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
What are we gonna do with these?
Hang on.
Next.
Let's see. We'll now hear ARB 16-28, 20 South Buckout Street. And the application is represented by,
Douglas McClure for the Coens. So this is a renovation of an existing house at 20 South Buckout. I'm here for some exterior changes in the back. We're adding a large sliding door to the deck, relocating, getting rid of an entrance on the back, and adding a new window in the relocated kitchen. And then down below, we're closing up an existing door out with a new window and a large slider down there, so that the yard as well as adding, there was an old greenhouse sort of window that was on the north elevation. For some reason, don't understand why you put a greenhouse on it. We're taking it down. There's a new stair going there. We're putting in a new window. The windows are integrity. They'll essentially match the existing. This, I believe, is correct. I don't think there are any divided lights in any of the windows. You will note, however, though, that they're divided based on the sliders because the client wanted them. All the casings will match the existing casings. Everything in the house is aluminum siding right now, so we're replacing that. But what we will be putting stucco down here because it's just a block foundation, so where the block is
been replaced, and to cover all that, we're gonna do a light gray stucco face.
Is that gonna wrap around to the other sides?
Not right now.
Hey, we would strongly encourage that the stucco go all the way around.
Okay,
And,
I'm fine with that.
what's the window that's being replaced? Or was it like one of these little greenhouse things?
It was, yeah, projected out, it was
It's like an
actually,
Anderson thing?
no, it was actually a Lord and Burnham, but it
Oh.
wasn't a nice one. It was like, I don't know, it was aluminum, not the metal, and it was Lord and Burnham. I don't know when it was made, but it was in really rough shape.
And what's the material, you said it, I just might have missed it, the fence material? On the
patio?
porch?
We're not changing the porch help. That's existing. Here's a picture of the existing. If we do, we'll come back to that, but right now, this is really an interior,
Can you put it as a note?
which,
I think, yeah, there's a note on the other ones, but not on that. Do you? Doesn't say.
what's existing to
Just put a
remain.
note on the drawings.
Sure. It must be on the plan.
There's no plans to put the shutters, those shutters on the other side.
It does not appear that they were, well, they must have been there at some point, but they have not been there forever. So I'm not a big fan of gluing shutters on them, and I don't think they want to put the new hardware back on.
Any other questions?
I thought you were going to ask me to get rid of the grids.
You don't need the grids, you will let more light in if you don't
I
have the grids.
totally agree. My original plan was to move the kitchen into the front of the house to make the whole packed living space with a much wider thing, which would have been terrific.
So my only question was in the front of the house, you're indicating that they're 1/1s and they're staying as 1/1, or they are 6?
They're not touching the front of the
We're not touching the front of
But
the
what
house.
are they, but are they?
I believe I think that's incorrect. I have to go back and check, but I believe they're 1/1s.
There's 1/1 in the back.
They're 1/1 in the backs and the sides, and I just noticed that it's agreed to this, but I believe they're 1/1. In either case, we're not touching those.
I strongly suggest you remove the grid off, they're snap-ons.
No, right now it's SDL. Okay. I can make that argument.
I
You
strongly
request
recommend
it.
consistent with that.
I agree.
All right, so we're gonna make these changes and see a return visit?
Sure.
Anything else, Andrew?
I have no additional comments.
It looks good, it's great, it's in the historic neighborhood.
That's
very well.
It's in
one of the
historical
reasons we're very, meticulous about this, because it is in this direction.
Of course. Of
As you
course.
know, obviously.
Yeah. No, we've had lots of conversations about it. Thank you.
Thanks, Tim.
And now come to ARB 16-29, 82 East Sunnyside Lane, fence.
Hello,
Hello.
I'm Alba Binda with USA Fence Company. We submit the papers for a fence on 82 Sunnyside. Okay, 65 fence, 5 feet of a privacy, 1 feet of lettuce, square lettuce. Easy cedar, 5 by 5 posts, The boards, vertical 1x4s and the horizontal 1x4s as well. Vertical is going to be top-end groove. You know, it needs to be stained, super color, semi-transparent or transparent. And we need 2 gates, walkway gates, 4 feet wide, 6 feet high, as the fence, all the way to the run, as marked on the survey.
I don't see where the fence is, I don't see necessarily where the gates are gonna go. Where do you propose the gates go?
There have, right at the walkway. Steps right here. There is a little stone. 2 walkways.
Can I ask you what the purpose of the fence?
Okay, the property owners, they have 2 young kids. The property is right at the main street.
Right at the street.
They like to have a little bit of privacy and safety for kids.
And you're the property, you're.
Yeah, yeah, got 2 toddlers.
And is there gonna be any room, between the street and the fence for plantings? Has that been raised or considered?
Okay, there it is a concrete run all the way, and we desire to put the fence right behind the concrete run, which is maybe a few inches, you know, from the run at the dirt, in the dirt. The post will be in concrete, 2 feet deep. So it looks like there's no space for plantings.
That was my observation, I just wanted to be sure.
Now, on this end of the fencing,
Correct.
I know that the fence continues all the way in an old rickety, what appears to be sort of like a chain link fence. Is there any reason why it's not going to continue?
No, actually the reason that they put in that little, which is only 2 panels, is because the lights from the car, they hit the bedrooms, so the kids will wake up just because of the lights. And the reason is to continue with the fence is very expensive to go all the way to the end. So that's why we're creating a little corner with 2 panels, which is like 16 feet in total.
I'm just wondering what your neighbors think, seeing 2 panels of a fence and then that old fence.
The actual chain link fence that the owners had for decades, and it looks, as you indicate, quite old. It's actually towards the deep end of the lot. So, given that the Alba placed those 2 panels, I think that the chain link fence will be pretty deep into our yard. I don't think that it will be immediately noticeable by the pedestrian flow of our neighbors.
There are so many buried fences up and down
Oh, I
the
know
street that this is way more attractive than 98% of the ones that will exist there.
And that's what we would love to have.
That do exist there, right? I don't have an issue. I think it's fine.
I come at it from a little bit of a different angle. While there is a variety, most of what exists there now are stone. There's, stone barrier, stone retaining walls, or just old stones, I suppose, that have acted like a barrier. Plus there's metal, but there's really no fence of this nature on that entire street. And for the 1 or 2 that I did see that were made of wood, they were set back enough that there was shrubbery in the front. For me, this fence is really going to stick out and is going to be very noticeable. And I do think there's going to be a maintenance issue because you are staining it and it's going to require a bit of maintenance. So again, the colors are going to be different than everything else that's there. It's also higher than most of the fences that exist, plus you have a gate. So from my perspective, I think it's not in keeping with the neighborhood, this type of fence, and I do think it's going to be jarring and visually disruptive. I personally don't think it's the appropriate type of fence for this. But I am sensitive to the fact that I know you're trying to I don't know if did you newly move into the property?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can understand if you're just moving in, that you want to obviously, make a barrier between your property and this very busy road. But I am struggling with this fence.
To note, to your observation, the actual picture that Alba is depicting there is from a property that is further up by East,
You
East
also know
Irvington.
that there's, the house is 300 feet behind that.
And I would love to have my home 100 feet behind the main road, so in that case, I would need to have a fence.
From a perspective standpoint is what
Right, but to your point of the plantings, it will be my desire to put some plantings in front of the fence, because I also enjoy to beautify my home. So that is something that we could definitely arrange for and modify in those plans to accommodate both of our perspectives there.
I don't know how you could though, in other words, you'd push the fence back
We will have
closer to your house.
We will have to push it a little bit closer.
Do you have the room?
I think it's gonna go too close to the house, and I'm afraid it's gonna be a little bit of that claustrophobic issue,
If you
so.
push it back too
I don't know, they're just,
So we'll be-
I mean.
We do have our home,
To you,
it's like about 15 feet from the road, right? It's our front room is about 15 feet from the road.
I do know the house.
So still 2 feet will be a lot compared, to the space. But if that will bring the issue not to put the fence up, then we might do that if you all recommend. Or another thing is, we can do something that is not in this color. If it's too obvious, we can do something that's a little bit lighter, to
Darker.
We can drop a few inches down, so we don't have to do it 6, we can do it 5.5. If that satisfies you, and then we can, go on. I mean, just bring in, the possibilities.
Yeah. Make some recommendations on what do you think that,
There's grass already on one side of the sidewalk.
Well,
You mean
Yeah.
closest to the road?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's very, where that cement,
Yeah.
what you're talking about, is very,
So that's just an old wall? Is that what it
Well, it looks like an old
it appears that it was an
property.
older fence or concrete.
Yes.
I have no idea why
Is
it's
there any holes in
there.
the top of it?
There were some holes
Or
actually.
there was a
because-
fence, that's what the old fence was. sitting on.
Okay.
Yes, there were some holes because we're thinking of putting the fence on top of the wall, but it wasn't thick enough to hold the posts, so yeah, but it was holes.
What if you dropped the fence down to 4 feet in the portion in front of the house, and then stepped it up to 6 when it got past the house, to minimize the impact along, so it didn't feel so it just changed. So it goes 4 and then it steps back. Are you trying to block headlights?
We're trying to block headlights and noise as well. The noise that will be much more difficult to deal with because our home is just so close to the road that it doesn't, I don't think
Yeah,
that it's gonna
fences
make a
don't work.
dramatic difference. But definitely the headlights is something that I can see when I'm sleeping on my my bedroom. I can see the cars kind of coming into my bedroom, and then also the cars and the pedestrians can see inside all of our rooms, our children's room, our like guest room, my room, all the rooms.
I agree with Andrew that there, could be a lot worse fences
So
going
many
there.
different things happening.
I know. And I don't think, no matter what they choose, it's.
May I make a suggestion, just to have a discussion? I know you're staining it. Could, the fence that you show us there has a nice stain to it?
Correct.
Is that the stain that you're thinking about?
Actually, we're thinking more of this, but if this is like too obvious.
Yeah, that's
we
worse.
can,
That's much nicer.
The house is blue,
Actually,
right?
yeah.
The house is blue, so the house already stands out on its own.
Yeah, but blue and orange, I don't think.
No,
you're-
that's my point.
You're a Mets
That will
fan.
go much better with the blue.
So-
Yeah, unless you're a Knick fan.
I would, the house is going to be painted. The house is going to be
I'm just
painted.
saying,
It's not going to be
compared to this
blue
clear-
for much longer. The house is going to be painted a beige type of color, a more softer.
So
color that will match better with a brown.
So the fences that tend to fade away are the ones that are gray, that have already have changed color over time.
Mhm.
That fence jumps out to this day. We don't do this as professionals. We won't put a bright orange stain on it. We'll let it go natural, either let it fade to gray,
Mhm.
or we'll put a gray stain on it to start with. So
Okay.
we recommend
Actually, that was the reason that I brought this color, so I thought
Okay.
maybe if it's the cedar, because it's a cedar stain,
Mhm.
the cedar stain is too obvious, then we can go to something that blends in,
Yeah.
and, you know,
It's better.
and
Yeah, that's completely acceptable. My preference is obviously not to have a fence. So anything that could help our fence to blend in, and your suggestions, that is well taken, because I don't want to have something that also pops out and breaks the harmony.
Ken, do you have any other questions?
Don't you mark where the gates were?
I did. I think it's.
So what are we, where are we at in the height? What are you suggesting at this point in light of the comments?
we preferred it 6.
That's 5 and 1. 5 and then 1.
Do you by any chance know what the highest fence is on either side of the house? Because it didn't seem to be that height in maybe the other fences. You don't know.
No.
I think we're talking about 4 and 1 was the house to the right is 4.
Yeah, across the street there is a picket, like PVC fence, and I think it's short.
That one is short, plus it has shrubbery in front
Plus,
of it.
Mhm, it has the shrubbery. The house to our right, the Russos, I don't, they had
4 foot
just
at
changed.
best.
Yeah.
And they had the little driveway gates that.
Mhm.
Correct.
And how does it join up on the corner? That's the other piece I'm not
What
clear
is it
on.
gonna join up?
Like, when you were saying before, the two panels,
Oh,
what were you referring to? When it comes to this corner? Where it has the
Yeah.
metal fence there?
This is the Russo.
That's the roof.
That was the Russo. Oh, no, this is the corner of
Yeah.
what their fence is. I didn't say anything, I just thought the curb, I didn't know the curb went all the way. I guess.
yeah, it's gonna,
That the
just-
corner will
just
look like that.
The corner is gonna look like this thing. The posts will have caps on top.
Yeah? Yeah. Another one back, so I'm gonna put that. Make sure that this one has this.
Well, I mean, from my perspective, changing the color does help tremendously. The height is still a concern for me because it is not in keeping with the neighborhood, this type of fence to begin with. So by making it higher than the other fences on the street, I think it's a problem.
Okay.
Okay.
I think I could accept the height if it stepped down in front of the house. The higher height,
2.
4 feet, 3 feet. It just needs to be and it's a nice house on the street.
So you're saying that our yard has the regular height, and then our front
Yeah.
facade
Mhm.
has a lower height? And
At that
and I
gate,
think
at
that
the
will look
gate, it
nice.
comes down the floor to look a lot better.
And I think that will look nice
It'll look
too.
nicer from your porch looking out too.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not gonna affect the headlights in your room, but it would
No,
have helped
no.
at 6 feet anyway.
No?
So the,
Then you do gray stain, you
Okay.
step
Part
down
of the fence.
4 feet
Part
at,
of
at the gate. It drops down, so both gates are in a 4-foot fence.
but what happens on the turnback?
That's 4 feet too.
So,
That's 4
Oh,
feet,
that's
4
one
feet.
thing.
so what we're talking about is from the gate here and around is 4
It's
feet.
gonna look better, you're gonna be happier with that in the end anyway.
And then from there, it's gonna be
6
6,
feet.
right?
Yeah,
Yep.
5 and 1.
5 and 1, yeah.
So you're okay with the chain link fence for the rest?
We just met the Russos, and I'm very optimistic that we're going to work out something nicer over there, because already the rust, I think it presents a problem for my toddler.
I'll share my scar. I was a little boy and I went to climb.
I
over
just
the
feel
fence.
the same way. I think they're just something's gonna happen at some point with that rust side fence, and but we'll talk about it
What's your name?
with them. Huh?
What's your neighbor? Good. Good fences make good neighbors, isn't that what they say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so now, should we just modify that this evening, or is it too much?
I could,
We can do that?
this is not so bad. I mean, to modify the whole house, on the last one was too tough. But this one I can modify, I'll document on the building department copies. What you will need to do, though, is, we're going to conditionally approve this based on what we've talked about.
Okay,
What you're gonna need to do is, well, I assume, I'm speaking for myself.
okay,
I haven't taken a vote yet, but what we'll then have to do is you'll have to show in your hand what these changes are going to be. You're going to show 4 feet, from the gate all the way around the corner, and then 6 feet all the way the other way. And when we speak about 4 feet, 6 feet, we're always talking about 5 and 1.
5 1.
And the 4 foot is solid vertical board.
Solid. Okay.
Or is it it's the board and back in there, right?
It looks like-
Whatever that is.
Yeah.
Tongue
Yeah,
I thought you
yeah,
said.
tongue.
Yeah,
Yeah.
on the roof.
Yep.
Okay. All right, do I have a motion to approve as amended?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? 1.
Still approved. And welcome, good luck.
Thank you so much.
Alrighty, we will recall the other two meaninglessly.
Okay, thank you very much.
Have a good evening, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Going back to the 2 no-shows, 2 South Broadway sign. Over here, we will continue that as well. And 94 Main Street awnings, over here, we will continue that as well. We did
Yeah,
a
multiple
whole lot of
continuations.
continuations tonight. I hope we don't have too many on the next meeting, because we're gonna have all these plus the new stuff.
I will have a sign at the next meeting too. I'm hoping it goes okay. I have an application from the board. I was told I can have an application from the board and represent it myself, right? I just have to abstain. I can't jump around and vote.
Actually, Gail will switch these with Gail.
There.
She's not already. Actually,
Gymnastics, what I
it's
have to
funny.
go through to get a sign
Yeah.
application done in this town is
That's all
absolutely
right.
bizarre.
Gail's in front of the
Oh,
planning
this is
board.
for your,
This is
not for
for
your
me.
home, this is for.
No, yeah, for something in town.
Oh, great.
Yeah, my wife's studio. It's unbelievable. So it's taken us 8 weeks with them to get
Well,
signed
you know,
up.
we're gonna be tough, so.
Sure.
We'll see what Doc's about.
Well, it's neon, and so we'll see what happens.
brother.
No, I'm kidding, I'm kidding.
Did you want to close, because I wanted to ask you a question.
I love it. The only other thing is,
Oh, right, if you could ask Ken.
Ken, did you get a chance to review these minutes?
I honestly didn't, but.
Okay.
That's your copy, to make it easier, if you want to do it
So you
now.
wanna
or
take
later.
it
Right now.
Okay, great.
All right, if you do it, she can make the changes and we'll submit it during the week.
Should I ask Mark a question while we're waiting?
Certainly.
Can you give us a quick update on Brightview?
I can give it to you. It's done.
I heard it's done. It's shuddering.
Completely.
I ran into Connie.
They basically weren't willing to go forward without Brian's support for it. So it was effectively 3-2 in favor of it, of moving forward, but the applicant themselves wouldn't do it unless it was the mayor. But, the real issue is they had to have a 4-1 supermajority to go forward, because anyone of the neighbors could have basically contested any zoning change, and then it would have to go into a supermajority type of approval process.
Were you aware that they wouldn't go forward if the mayor was not in support of it?
We figured they wouldn't go forward unless it was 4-1 for the reason of the supermajority, but that wasn't the reason that their lawyer presented. Their lawyer presented that they've never gone forward in any case where they didn't have the head municipal official in.
Supporting the project, it makes sense, right?
Wednesday, what?
And is there any other possible now interest in the property?
Well, the current mode is that the owner, well, it's the oldest son, I guess. I don't know how many. I think it's
You talking about the owners, property owners?
yeah, it's Capriello. I think it's in a corporation, anyways. he's going to attempt to rent out the white building fully. Now, I don't know why, in the past, it was a problem, they couldn't rent it out fully. But I think now there was some tax adjustments, the taxes went down significantly on that property for some reason.
It's commercial property.
And does he have a tenant in mind?
No. But, I don't know, I haven't been inside, I don't know what the condition of the building is and when the last time, so, does it need like, internet wiring, Ethernet wiring and, communications updates? Probably. Smart building updates, maybe, who knows what they can do.
Interesting, but it's going to stay as a commercial property as far as you.
That's what he wants to do.
So have they taken off the planning board's docket, the McMansions, which have been there forever?
He did not say that. He did not do that. He still has he had a negotiated agreement that he could put that back on, but I don't know how long that's viable for. I think no one ever thought he would come back to that.
Thank you.
Yep.
Just an FYI, I will be in this room again tomorrow for the zoning board of appeals. They will be hearing as one of their continuations, the Dolan Lane solar panels. That they should have done, I don't know whether they contacted you or you, meaning the board of trustees, to the ZBA to get your take on the 5-page documents that are online. Because that's really what.
No, they didn't contact me. Maybe they talked to Brian.
Well, I know that well, actually, no, I don't know that. I know Natarelli met with Brian one day, as I did for a million other issues, but I don't know whether or not the chair reached out to Brian or anybody on the board of trustees.
I mean, we have a work session, I think this month, is going to be reviewing some of the.
May. Yeah, I've actually let everyone know when that day is. It's a Wednesday
May
board
11th.
session. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's not gonna, be here or there when it comes to the ZBA's findings. I just, I would have preferred to have the ZBA speak to somebody in the village to know that it's not the ARB that's, forcing this issue, that it's,
Well, Brian did meet with them about a different issue. Now, whether or not that came up, I don't know. You could probably ask him about it. The other thing is, I do know that there may be someone from the Green Policy Task Force coming to support the installation of solar.
Petra? Is it Petra, do you know?
I don't think it's going to be Petra.
Is she the chair?
Well, I don't know the exact status. She may be. She's essentially said that she needs to resign because of her new job.
Yeah.
So I don't know if she's acting chair or what at this point. But I'm not sure. I'm no longer liaison to that committee. Janice is. So
I've seen some of the information that's posted. Kind of hit and miss. So,
is it what's posted?
There was, what you sent us, sorry, not, yeah.
5-page.
Yeah.
I mean, it's essentially just a letter from the ARB from 2009 that states that, just because the front of your house faces south, it's not slam dunk that we would approve them. And it's based on what your neighbors are going to see, what the people who are driving are going to see. Well, I didn't see on the ZBA the other East Sunnyside Lane solar panels that we turned down. I fully expected to, but especially since Heather told them how to grieve it in our meeting. But at that point, like I said, I fully expected it to be there and it wasn't. Whether they've given up on it, I think they have X amount of days to.
I'm not sure what the day.
I think it's 20 days. But.
Yeah. Now, in terms of, so your impression of I have now looked at the 5-page document, so I don't, years ago I did, I don't remember. What you're saying sounds like it's pretty thin.
Well, no, actually,
criteria, or is it
it's,
not?
it goes through 9 or 10 different points, of, what it means by, I mean,
Do you feel it's sufficient to give people guidance?
no, but it's all we have at this point. I mean, all applicants should consider the following items when looking into solar, looking to install solar panels or other energy-saving devices. Evaluate solar panels versus solar roof tiles and shingles. Consider alternate installation locations. I need water. As in trellis in the rear yard or on tops of patio awnings. Consider minimum contrast with the roof color. Consider the symmetry of the installation, which is part of what we talked about on East Sunnyside Lane. Consider a design to eliminate sawtooth appearance. Once again, that's what we talked about at Sunnyside. Consider how panels, these were the ones that were more appropriate. Consider how the panels fit in with the style of the house. Solar panels may look more appropriate on the front of a contemporary style house than on a contemporary house than on a historic structure. Other options may need to be considered in a historic neighborhood. Consider the aesthetic impact on the neighborhood and whether any installation will be considered an eyesore to neighbors, as an eyesore will affect home values. Consider that the front of a house may need to be treated differently than the rear of a house or property, as neighbors and passersby will see the front of the house but may not see the back of the house. In commercial installations, aesthetic considerations are just as important as in residential installations and should be designed accordingly. The actual beginning of the document, the Architecture Review Board, ARB, embraces the idea of using solar panels and other energy-saving devices on buildings, property within the village. However, applicants should consider design elements so that these devices do not detract from the aesthetics of the neighborhood in which they are to be located. It is the responsibility of the ARB to make sure that any work done within the village is in harmony with existing buildings and structures in scale and style, and that all new work fits into what already exists. The ARB is concerned about setting precedents regarding solar panels and wants to make sure that they are installed in a way that is aesthetically pleasing to the homeowners, neighbors, and passersby.
That doesn't explain the raft of those 4 or 5 that are already on Sycamore, that every one of them are pretty obnoxious.
And I'm here to tell you, they were probably all overridden by the ZBA.
I don't know.
Or they're illegal installations.
Or they were done before that paperwork. I don't know.
Well, that's 2009.
Yeah,
2009 now.
this is a long time ago.
That's why it needs to be updated too. It needs to be reviewed again.
And then just, yeah, so there's also that other stuff about reflectivity and.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Especially
especially,
the front, the street facade of the building, it's just,
Look, if we were
It's a
in
shame.
Holland and the whole block got done, and it looked like the roof, if you go to Holland, it looks like the roof, you can't tell. It looks like, the roof looks like a metal roof, but it's actually a solar roof.
So what are you saying, that they did the whole, I'm sorry, I
They
missed.
did the whole, well, it was a
the
development.
and the panel, right, the panels are customized to the form of the building rather
Yeah.
than just
Yeah, well, that's.
random companies coming in and
After-
jamming something on.
Right.
well, the other thing that I noticed also with reference to East Sunnyside Lane was, we were being told by the solar company that, we were trying to figure out how it was going to blend in with the roof of the house, and he said, oh, the roof is a bluish color, so the blue panels, the roof is brown. The roof
These
is,
guys are, they're just.
well, I'm just saying, the more I looked at it, the more I got angry, because he was trying to sell us a bill of goods, and it really wasn't.
Let's change the roof tiles.
And frankly, as you come around East Sunnyside Lane at late afternoon, sun is hitting directly on that roof, and who knows what the reflection is going to be off that roof. And the documents that they have said that there could possibly be, reflective issues. So,
We also talked about earlier that nobody is required to give notice for solar panels, not even front facing, and maybe that's something the board wants to consider, that if they're front facing and everybody in the neighborhood can see them, maybe that neighbors need to notice.
Well, that has to be a recommendation from you, you all.
that's what that's one of the couple things we're going to go over on the 11th for sure. We're going to look at other local. I'm not so sure. Worried about Oregon or any of the other stuff we got.
But there might be some ideas in there. And what my concern is that, we're being pushed the stuff from Sustainable Westchester, and I'm very concerned about whether or not, I haven't reviewed it yet, so I don't have an opinion, but I'm very concerned about whether or not it's just a lot of, effectively green speak without enough consideration for the neighborhood. And I think that is an issue, especially in the small, in the villages. I mean, you can just look at what's going on in Dobbs Ferry and realize what happens if you're not paying attention to it.
Well, just take a drive down
Why
Ashford
you don't
Avenue.
like the thing?
Right, that's what I was gonna say.
If you go down Ashford Avenue,
Right,
where
right.
Irvington Street comes into Ashford Avenue, you look right there, it is god awful. I mean, it's just horrible. I've never seen anything so bad.
What is, Irvington Street comes into, Irvington Street is up the hill, right? You come down.
It goes up the hill from
Yeah,
Ashford.
Yeah.
But in that neighborhood, in that vicinity, I don't know whether it's slightly before or slightly after, if you look to the left, there's a house, there's another street that goes, I don't know whether it's Spruce or Pine or something, goes in there. The house that's right on the corner,
On the left.
Right.
looking right
That
at you.
little
all
one-story
these-
cape, that's.
It's
right
not
out
bad.
the-
It's a tiny house and there's just monstrous, panels on it. They probably don't have to pay kind of a dime with the amount of, the size of the panels that are on it.
Although I was surprised last
But
time.
there's really not that much worse than some of the ones on Sycamore, frankly.
I was surprised last time that the solar panel rep told us that the savings for the homeowner was $500 a year. And it was a lot of panels. Because of the cost involved in purchasing the panels and how much, was involved in the agreement that was set up between the solar panel rep and the homeowner. The savings was $500
There's
a year.
criminal business out there right now. These
For
companies
real
are out there just
business.
raping people. There's
Yeah.
tons of articles.
It wasn't as big a savings as I assumed based on the
They're
number of
capturing the
solar panels.
rebates, they're not passing them on to the home. There's
Yeah.
so many corrupt, there's so many,
I-
I mean, I got,
I-
on 2 projects, we got bit by
Exactly.
corrupt
Exactly.
guys that were, they'll go bust. They're just grabbing cash and they go bust.
Yeah.
It's a real, it's
Well, who
an
owns
unregulated
It's
market.
it's the Tin Men of its day.
Who owns the array if the company goes bust?
If
The
the
bank.
company goes bust, the array is owned by,
The bank.
well, once it's, it doesn't really matter who owns it. Once it's hooked up and it's generating energy and it's fed back in, it doesn't mean anything. It's all about when you buy it, the rebates that you get, who captures the rebate, and the discounts passed on the homeowner or the company or the percentage they take who bought the panels. Once they're in somebody's house, ownership of them doesn't mean anything, 'cause it's being metered. So it's
No,
being
but
metered by
there's
the
still
power
a
company.
maintenance and a repair.
Well, then you call another company to come and repair them. There's so many companies that make the panels, you can get somebody to fix them, but it's like the Wild West. It's gotten better, but like,
Cheap Chinese, right? The Chinese decided to flood the market,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they flooded it, and that's what they said. It's the Tin Men, right? That's what it is. Guys going around, they set up their operations.
send out the mailers,
Yeah.
tell somebody they're gonna save them thousands of dollars, they grab all the money and tell them they're gonna save $500. When the reality is, like on that house, you're talking about on Ashford Ave, that array is large enough, it should easily power that whole house for the entire year. And it should generate money on the payback from Con Ed.
Yeah, but Con Ed doesn't let you do that in Westchester. Do they?
I
There's
don't
no,
know.
there's no
They do in
reverse meter in
Other
Oakland Public.
places. Right.
They only let you go to 0 and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, we've got projects where people, it's amazing.
Yeah, no, that's Con Ed.
Yeah, kind of.
So they've been edited, as edited, we could approve them, and I could just hand them in, if you want to hand
Okay.
it that way, there's only 2 small ones.
Just look at the edits, so you.
Well, Andrew
He
wasn't
wasn't
there.
there.
I wasn't
It was
there.
just the 3 of
So
us.
then we're
Okay, as long as you want to say we can vote on
Okay,
it.
so the minutes, do I have a motion to approve as amended?
I approve.
Second?
Sorry.
Second?
All in favor? Aye.
Okay, and it'll be submitted tomorrow during.
Okay. All right, anything else? I don't think so.
What I don't understand is I'm applying for the sign application right now, which Ed Marinus runs.
Are we on?
We're about to get,
I'm sorry, I'm referencing this guy who came in for the spec house or whatever, and the ringer that I'm being run through for freaking 18 by 18 inch sign on a building, and this guy comes in with elevations that aren't
No
even
materials,
marked, that
no
are not
plans.
anything, like, I don't understand what goes on to allow things to, I mean, you can't imagine what we're going through to submit a sign application, the woman in my office doing it. Like, it's a sign. Elevations drawn, this, that, the other thing, and then this guy comes in with a set of drawings that clearly was grabbed off the shelf, jammed in a folder, and we're expected to approve it so he can get his client to close on a deal.
What building are you putting a sign on?
It's 8 North Dutcher.
What's her name?
It's behind Methods behind Methods
What's her name? What
Fitness.
was her name of the studio?
I can't remember.
Oh, yeah, right.
She's still in the building. She's still in the building.
Is it a commercial building?
Yeah, it's a commercial building.
So probably, I mean,
And then he's like, well, the space was never certified. You need to do an as-built for a freaking sign of the whole space. I have to come and do an inspection and make sure there's...
well,
It's like laughable.
that's not under the rubric of sign per se, that's under the rubric, if you come and, if you touch it, then you're gonna be responsible
You
for
own it.
everything.
Yeah, but you are.
Bizarre.
Listen, I gotta tell you these stories, the really insane story, well, not, it depends on how you look at it, but I know a number of people who go to sell their house, the deal is, they're all the way to the point where, and the title company comes in and says, oh, by the way, your as-built doesn't match whatever, And so then they have to go through, like, the planning board process to get approval for what exists.
When does a title company ever compare what an as-built site plan is against
No,
what's
they're
on
just,
file in the town?
they're, it's a whole game. It's a game.
And so, well, anyways, it happens quite a bit, and what happens is, there's a lot of stuff, especially in the 70s and 80s, that never got documented.
Yeah, you gotta go to the village to get it done.
And you gotta, if you did it without a building permit, if you went and didn't
Depends on the
bother
title
to get a
company,
CMO, there was a lot of Wild West stuff going on. But when I went to buy my house,
Wild West is fine if they do a nice job.
What?
It's when they do a bad job, it's a problem.
no, but it costs. So this guy, so one of my friends was trying to sell, and they found this out, and they had to hurry up and go through a $3,000 or $4,000 process, effectively, to get drawings made, updated, go to the planning board, and get it approved, the current. Luckily, they didn't have to go for a variance.
By the way, that's what title insurance is for.
Yeah.
That's exactly what title insurance is for. Like, if something's wrong with the title,
Hello.
I've
Yeah.
never heard of a title insurance company in a single-family home actually checking, referencing
yeah.
as-built against what's on file in the town.
I gotta just
Not
say,
without
there's a lot of it now.
Yeah, somebody ratted somebody
Or-
tried
or
to
you know what
do
it is?
something.
I also know
They're
what
not
they-
that thorough.
No, if there's an inspection report and it says something, this, like, whatever goofy thing is in there, the inspection report says, new addition, not permitted, that if there's a document trail to them, because otherwise they can't see. So I've had this is a totally separate thing. I found out that the site area of your house is generated by the town. And the reason I found this out is I brought my survey and I said, wait a minute, you have the wrong area because that's such a big part of the valuation. And the guy says, I can't do anything, I got that from the town. And so I called up and they're like, well, you have to get a certified, you have to have your house surveyed, I was like, what, wait, really? Because here's the document and all that sort of stuff in the
But
village.
don't you have a survey already from some?
I do, friend, they want it updated. I'm gonna try and get it through.
We're doing the same thing. I have somebody coming around to remeasure.
But that's different than a full, were you doing a full survey?
I'm doing a full survey.
They got the areas wrong.
They got mine's wrong too.
Mine is wrong, but I just gotta.
Well, let's think about it, it's 10% of the value, they're off by 10%. Okay, doesn't seem like, well, on 10% on, I think the valuation for like $500,000 for the village lots, something like that, on that order. That's not small change on your tax bill. Don't say anything.
My taxes went down,
He's had to say it.
so I'm on the other side of the fence. So that when everybody agrees their taxes going up and they get reduced, that's fine. I'm going to countersue the town and I'm going to reimburse for the 10 years I've overpaid. Right? Isn't that what makes sense? It's.
Don't you have the statute of limitations on that?
I don't know. I haven't looked into it much. I've just been blabbing that around when people
first of all,
tell me
if you're over-
You're just getting ready.
I'm just getting ready because I overpaid by a lot.
I think it only goes back a couple of years.
Because when you're.
No, here's the problem
Yeah, what
everybody
happened
did.
with
I read, I've already told Ken the story of the train one day. I've heard about this happening in many towns, and I read a series of articles before this was happening, where everyone got bit. And I bet if you did a study, if somebody actually polled everybody and had them fill out a survey, they would find that probably 80% of the people whose taxes went up let the person in their house.
Let them in.
Let them in.
I did not.
Okay, I'm 80%,
Okay.
I believe. Everybody I've talked to,
Okay.
everybody I know,
Okay.
let them in.
Okay.
They all have a finished basement or an attic. Those two spaces were historically not shown up, and maybe legally or illegally got finished over the years, and the metrics on their home significantly were altered by that. I didn't let them in my house. I bought my house, it had a finished walkout basement, it has a third floor. It's always been there, I didn't do anything to it. I cleaned it up. And my taxes went down by 20%.
Now, interestingly, we spoke to Tyler, and Tyler told us that the basement is not included in the calculation.
If it's a walkout though, mine's a walkout, so it's based on the percentage area of the facade that walks out, it's a it's a whole complicated metric. So it does count in some cases.
I think you guys should end the meeting.
It wasn't.
No, I don't think you guys voted to end, did you?
I thought you did.
End it, right?
Yeah, after we approve the minutes.
Oh, what, this is all gonna be on the minutes?
Because all of this is getting into the minutes if you didn't.
Oh,
The meeting ended when the last person walked out of the room.
yeah.
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear you guys.
I thought it was.
We didn't transcribe the last meeting's minutes yet, so.
Well, if anybody's listening, it was